I wanted to measure your success as an employee, what matters most. Welcome to this week's live. Now, last year we made a lot of content, but this year we're going live every single week.
We go live every single week?
Yeah, dude, that's what we need to do to dominate this industry. Guys, follow us on every social platform, subscribe on YouTube. Now let's get into this week's episode and head into the studio.
What's up, guys? It's Alex. I'm the sales manager here at MFG Tribe. We are whapping out another live here. I got Lara, the OG, doing the live today. So hopefully we'll get back to maybe a little bit more comfort level. Maybe I won't be so tomato red when we're doing this one because I do have Lara's pretty face to look at. And then when I don't have much to say, she tends to assist me and try and fill my lines out. So we'll see how this one goes. This one's going to be an exciting one, guys. This one is admitting your strengths and weaknesses in sales. This one doesn't necessarily only apply to those guys in sales or those gals in sales. It applies to everybody. If you're able to admit your strengths and weaknesses and really able to identify your strengths and know what your weaknesses are, no matter what job you have, you're going to be better at it. You need to understand everybody has weaknesses and everybody has strengths. You need to play to those. You go in any sports that you're in there, even the top players, you know, LeBron James, Aaron Judge, everybody in sports out there, even the top players have weaknesses and they have strengths. Aaron Judge weakness is that he strikes out a lot. LeBron's James weakness might be that he's getting older. You know, everybody has their weaknesses. All right, so let's get real. Let's get down and into it. You've probably been told a million times in sales that you guys have to stay confident, and that is key. However, being able to identify your strengths and weaknesses can also add to your confidence level, because if you understand what your weaknesses are, you can utilize that and you can make them maybe not as weak as you are today. You know, make them better, make them not weaknesses, make them just normal things that you guys are going in about. What if I told you, however, that being able to admit those weaknesses and being able to identify those weaknesses could make you a better salesman? By the way, Laura, which one am I supposed to be looking into? It's this one. See, I'm looking at the wrong one already. Got to focus on this one. So you got to be setting expectations. You need to set yourself expectations. You need to set yourself goals. You need to understand that, again, those weaknesses and those strengths, playing to them is going to make you a better person and a better employee overall. So first of all, we're going to break down what you should be doing when you're setting up expectations in order to be a self-aware sales superpower. I'll share some personal stories. I'll share some insights, some tips and tricks that I've learned over the course of being in sales, as well as working for the governor, as well as all the other, jobs that I've done in my past. And then we'll open it up some Q&A. So stick around. This one's going to be valuable. So number one, I'm going to go in if we have this here. Let's see if it works. Check device power. Device power is on. Come on now. There we go. Going into section number one, why strengths matter. This one's going to be a quick and easy one. If you're a sales guy, every salesperson doesn't actually know what they're really good at for the most part. The ones that are out there that have been sales guys for years, the ones that have been successful, the ones that are those high ticket closers tend to be the ones that actually know their strengths. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes, 10, 20 years for you to really understand what your strengths are. Because if you're young, you're out there learning. You can't necessarily go, this is a weakness if you hadn't have an opportunity to learn and try and make it better. You also need to be able to go, okay, hey, I've put enough time into this. I should be stronger at this. This is obviously something that I'm not good at. However, if this is 5311, right, Laura? 5331. Yeah, there we go. It's just going to keep going off. So what was I saying? We're going into strengths. Got sidetracked there. We'll go back into the strengths. So being able to identify those and being able to go, okay, hey, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses is really important. One of the earliest memories that I have of being able to identify something that I know that I'm strong at is that relationship building. This was something even before I came into sales that I was able to identify. I've told stories before in the past in school that I always had a large quantity of people. I wouldn't necessarily consider them friends. I'm a very close-knit. I like to have my close-knit tight friend group, but I had a lot of people. Everybody knew who I was. It was one of those that I was the tall ginger in high school and college. Everybody knew who I was, knew who my name was. I was able to interact with all these. I was able to identify early on that relationship building was one of the strengths that I had. And relationship building is something that's not only needing to be utilized in sales, relationship building is in everything. You need to sell yourself when you have a job opportunity. If you're out there going for, applying for job positions, applying for those new C-suite level, whatever level that they are, you're having to go out there and sell yourself. So being able to fill and build those relationships, because no matter where you go, relationship building is going to be important. So early on, again, going back to the story, I figured out that relationship building was one of my strengths. Now, I started working off of that pretty early on in my career, not only when I was in sales, but when I was working for the governor, when I was doing other job positions that I had, being able to develop the relationships also within the company that you work for. Because if you're not liked, people are not there to or going to be likely to help you. They're not going to go out of their way to help you. It might be one of those things that they're just there to help you just because they have to. If you have those relationships early, you're going to be able to build on that and be able to be a better employee overall. Okay, so the key is to lean into, I went over that for a little bit. The key is to lean into those strengths. So in order to lean into those strengths, you need to identify what you're good at again. So whether that be closing, whether that be objections, whether that be relationship building, whether that be proposal creations, there are so many different aspects. And I'm going to focus on the sales portion of this because this is really what I'm out here to do, is to teach the sales guys. But you can really utilize this in any job position that you have. But you need to be able to identify, I'm good at X, Y, and Z. I'm not good at Q, R, and S. So I'm good at relationship building. I'm also good at objections. I'm also good at working around objections, because my whole purpose when I'm selling is that I'm here to provide solutions. If there are too many objections where realistic my solution can't fit, then you need to move on. We've had videos about that in the past. Being able to identify the areas that you go, okay, hey, I can utilize this strength in here, and this weakness, I need to make sure that I'm pushing this strength and I'm making sure that my strengths overcome my weaknesses. So in a quick, let's do a little quick exercise. Ask yourself what you think your strengths are. Write them down, put them in the chat here if you're sitting here watching. Really, tell me what you think your strengths are. And I promise you, you will probably only think of 2 or 3 of them, but I guarantee you, if I sat there and have a conversation with you, I could find 5 or 6 that I could genuinely identify as a strength. So I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds. We'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now double down on that. That's where your gold is. That's where hey, I know that these are my strengths currently, and hey, maybe in the future after this, I can identify some other strengths that I have. You can identify strengths by speaking to people in your similar job description, your job titles, in your similar industries, speaking with them, going, hey, this is what I do, and this is how I get the wins. And if they have other things that they do that they get wins in other ways, maybe that's a weakness or something that you need to look into a little bit deeper. And you can never make your strengths too strong either. Always be out there making sure that you're learning and making sure that your strengths are becoming even stronger. You can't just heavily rely on your strengths and forget about them. I'm always out there, when it comes to building relationships, when it comes to those objections, when it comes to proposal writing. I think those are my 3 strongest ones. My proposals cover everything. There will be answers to any of your questions in there. There will be statistics, there will be ROI that you could be getting, things that you should be doing. I'm going to put extras in there. I'm going to make sure that you understand what we at MFG Tribe are going to be completing for you month to month. So there is no questions that you realistically should be asking. I'm here to answer all those questions. I know people aren't going to be reading those proposals, necessarily in depth. I know those questions are coming, but I have those 3 strengths that I fall back on, and that I know, hey, when things start going a little south, I know, let's rely back on my strengths. Let's go back to what I know that I'm good at, and let's get back into that groove. So now I'm going to go on to admitting your weaknesses. This one's a little bit longer. I'm just not going to utilize this thing over here anymore, so we'll forget about that. I'm going to go, being able to identify your weaknesses is going to be, and admitting to them is going to be the most powerful thing, even more powerful than having all the strengths in the world. Because if you understand where your weaknesses are, you're going to make sure that you don't put yourself in position where your weaknesses are going to be the thing that you're having to rely on. You're going to put your strengths at the forefront because this is what I'm good at, and my weaknesses necessarily aren't going to, I always say weaknesses. I don't want to necessarily, what can I label them as, Laura? Because we want to move weaknesses and strengths. We want to move the weaknesses into something that aren't necessarily weaknesses, but they're not strengths. Because you can always overcome something like that by learning. We call them not weaknesses. We'd call them, I don't know. Trying to think. We'll think of something. We'll think of something to call we'll call them non-weaknesses, but we won't call them strengths. So admitting what your weaknesses are. I'm going to admit to everybody here, and it's probably most sales guys, one of my weaknesses is sometimes in my follow-up. I sit there and I put things into place. I put tasks in. I have a million different things that I'm doing throughout the day. So sometimes my follow-ups, I tend to focus on the whales and the sharks. Sometimes the little fish that are, swimming around, I don't get to focus on as much. And that is one of my weaknesses. Now, I put things into place to make sure that these weaknesses do not hinder me, because I know, hey, I'm not going to be an expert at everything. I'm not going to be the best sales guy in everything. I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to keep learning. However, I know that this is my weakness. So let's put things into place so that these don't affect my future deals. So for me, follow-up being one of my weaknesses, I'm making sure that I have tasks. I'm making sure I have reminders. I have a Slack that has a sales accountability that sends me reminders when I don't have tasks for follow-up, when I don't have meetings set and everything, because those small little gritty ditty details that are in there are things that I'm not necessarily great at. So again, identifying them and being able to put things into place that aren't going to affect you in the future. Every salesperson has a weakness. If you're sitting here watching me and going, I don't have a weakness, I'm the best sales guy ever, I challenge you to actually take a look at yourself and take a look deep into what you do on a day-to-day. I promise you there is something that you can be better at, something that you can learn, something that you are not as good as you are in other things. Now, a weakness doesn't necessarily have to be something that you are terrible at. A weakness just is something that you know that I am not the best at. I am not the best basketball player. I'm not the best baseball player. I know this. Would I ever try and go and be a professional basketball player, professional baseball player with what I have today? No. Back when I was younger, if I had, the skills and the assets and I realized like, hey, I'm good at this, maybe going in and going, okay, I need to put time aside to become better at this aspect of it. Your strengths never start off as strengths. They always start off as things that you're learning, that you enjoy, that you eventually incorporate into your day-to-day life, that you utilize every day. Because just like driving a car, everybody drives every day. Riding a bike, once you do it enough, it's just kind of one of those things that is something that you don't even have to think about. And that's why I am able to really easily identify my strengths, is because it's not something that I have to think about. My weaknesses might not necessarily be what some people consider weaknesses, but things that I'm not 100% at. So, yes, Laura.
What about instead of a weakness, an area of optimization?
Laura, see, that's why we love Laura. Area of optimization. I'm writing that down because I'm going to forget that we said that. Area of optimization. I love it. Okay, is my spelling correct? Oh, look at that. Spelling bee, A+, I win, gold medal. Spec optimization. So area of optimization, that's what we'll utilize that as. So going to go in a quick little story time here again. One of the times, and it was when I was young, and being young is one of those really difficult things, especially, even as a man, being able to admit your faults and admit your weaknesses and go, okay, I'm not good at this. One of the first big deals that I had coming in whenever I was here at MFG Tribe with Kyle. Kyle was, on the deal with me. He explained to me what I need to do. We have the standard operating procedures that, and this is going to disappear now. Area of optimization, just remember that. He said we have the standard operating procedures that we do, and I'm trying to follow this procedure as well as, go out and fill, holes and make sure that my pipeline is full and doing all these different things. And I let, some of these deals slip through the crack. And I was really upset whenever I lost one of these deals. And one of the deals came back, and it was one of those that, hey, the follow-up wasn't there. There was one of the competitors was answering quicker than you were when it came to it. Yes, you guys were a better fit, but when when they were optimizing or when they were editing their proposal, they were back into them within 2-3 hours. I was like, okay, hey, look, maybe I need to take a look at the process that I'm doing and making sure that even if I do go, okay, hey, I'm going to complete this, I need to also follow up with them and go, hey, I'm going to have this done for you within a day, within 24 hours, within 48 hours. I know that I get overwhelmed when there's a lot of things coming in. So I need to make sure that I sit there and I plan my day out accordingly. I time block. That is one of my biggest things. And another one of my biggest things is time management. I realized that in that given moment, I was trying to do 800 different things, and that all at the same time, and doing 800 different things at the same time is not going to be beneficial for you. So I had to sit down and go time management, and now those kind of things don't happen. I time block my calendar. I go, this is when I'm doing X, Y, and Z. This is why I'm doing Q, R, and X. This is why I'm doing A, B, C. So then throughout the day, I know that I've completed everything that I need to complete. And at the end of the day, I know that I've done everything that needed to be done throughout the day. Laura's going to mess around, see if we can't fix this so this ugly thing isn't there. All right, so admitting your weaknesses don't make you look weak. Admitting your weaknesses actually in leadership, especially in leadership positions, can make you look stronger. Because if you are able to identify as a manager that this is one of my weaknesses, and you can fill, one of your employees that's coming in to work with you, you can fill one of those open positions with somebody that will, assist with your weaknesses. Maybe you're hiring for a business development rep, and you're terrible at keeping your CRM up to date with all the notes, but you are interviewing and you have someone that in the past has proven, I am always good at, optimizing the CRM. I'm always good at including notes. Having that kind of person in there also can teach you. As a manager, you always have to be open to learn, because there is those new people, those new young bloods that are coming in that, yes, you're going to have to teach them 95% of things. But I promise you, if you sit there and you listen to them, they will be able to teach you something that will turn those areas of those weaknesses into areas of optimization. Okay. So also, once you admit your weaknesses, you can either improve it or compensate for it. So I kind of mentioned that you can improve your weaknesses by continually learning, continually going, okay, hey, I need to make sure that I need to maybe do a little bit more editing when it comes to proposals. I need to maybe take some time to learn the process a little bit better. Maybe you need to take a chance to learn an industry. Maybe you're a sales guy that sells into multiple industries, and you have 3 industries that like the back of your hand, but you have 1 or 2 industries that when they come in you're not as strong on. So maybe go out and learn that industry a little better. Maybe go and speak to those industry professionals. Maybe apply or sign up for some of those newsletters so that you're learning, so that you turn those, again, weaknesses into areas of optimization. And then who knows, you can turn a weakness into a strength. I've done it before. I've done it where I had confrontation used to be one of my biggest areas of weakness. I tried to avoid confrontation all the time. I think it may have to have been something to do with, previous relationships. I'm very anti-confrontational, especially when it comes to my significant other. I don't want to be in confrontation. It was one of those things that sometimes is unavoidable, but sometimes I would do everything in my power to avoid confrontation, even with a client, and going, okay, hey, look, I need to identify that sometimes confrontation, sometimes pushing back is not something that is frowned upon. It is something that is sometimes necessary in order to either bring something to light, get the client to actually answer in the way that you want them to. So whenever I'm asking someone to define success, if they're kind of bopping around and not able to define success, I'll sometimes go, I need you to tell me what you think and what you are going to judge us on. What is that metrics? Is that looks? Is it deliverables? Whatever it might be, sometimes pushing back on that in order to get answers is important. Huh? Oh, yes. Thanks, Laura. Now it's fixed. Oh, no, Laura, now it's not fixed. All right, we're going. Disaster. Disaster has struck in our life. We'll be right back. Technical difficulties. We're going to have that screen soon, Laura. Especially if I'm going to be on more lives here. Whew. Technical difficulties. All right. Check device power. Come on. There we go.
Tim Drinkwater said, if a strength is overused, it can become a weakness. Thoughts?
Yes, Tim, definitely. I definitely would agree with that, because if you are over relying on one strength, you only have one thing that you identify as a strength, and you're over reliant on that, your client will see right through that. You are completely correct, because if you are over reliant on one strength, you're going to miss this whole part of the pie. You got 12 slices of the pie. You got one thing that you're focusing on. There's a whole other section of the pie that you want to be a part of. So yes, over and over again, yes, Tim, I think that it is detrimental to you as well, because if you're too focused on that one strength, you're also not turning those weaknesses into areas of optimization, which then internally could become another strength because you're focused on that one strength that you have. I'll use an example here. If you hate cold calling, you could partner up with a team member who thrives on cold calling. I hate cold calling. Kyle and I and our sales guys, we do cold calling. It's one of those, we consider it warm calling, but if you're actually going to go to cold calling, I hate cold calling. I despise it. It's one of those things that is one I don't think that I am necessarily good at. However, it is a very useful thing, especially now day and age. People don't pick up the phone. It's all email. We went through that weird phase where calling kind of died. I think it's coming back around again. If you're able to call and connect with somebody and just speak with them and not, immediately show up and throw up on a pitch, even if they give you 15 seconds of your time, if you have the right pitch, they're going to give you 30. If you have that 30-second pitch, they're going to give you a minute. So partnering up with somebody also, I always say this. My dad used to tell me this when I was a kid, when I used to play guitar. Always find somebody that's better than you. Golf game, basketball, any sports, anything that you do. If you partner up, if you're an entrepreneur, you're out there and you're dealing and you're the highest, entrepreneur in your friend group, are you going to learn anything? No. Go out and find other entrepreneurs that make more money. Go out and find older entrepreneurs. Go out and find people that have run companies. I guarantee you build that, it doesn't necessarily have to be friends. You build that acquaintance circle even bigger. You're going to learn things and you're just going to propel yourself into the next step in your career or your life. So how much time we got here, Laura? Oh, yes, we've done good. We're almost done. We're turning weaknesses into strengths now. Laura, we're trying to keep these short because I also know that you guys don't want to sit here and listen to me talk all the time. But hey, we're almost done. So now turning strengths into weaknesses. I'm going to kind of tie into something that Tim had mentioned earlier, that if you're, again, only focusing on one strength, you're leaving a large portion of opportunity out there for another person to grab, whether that be another sales guy, whether that be your competition, whether that be somebody that's going for that same job as you. If you are only focused on that and you're not trying to turn your weaknesses into areas of opportunity or optimization and then into your strengths, you're losing. You're going to be on the back foot. You're going to be behind when it comes to everything in life. So you need to start openly admitting your weaknesses and take power away from them. You go, look, I know this is a weakness. I know this is something that I'm not good at. Let me put things into place to make sure that these weaknesses are not going to hinder me, and making sure that my strengths are also able to make up for that. Because everybody, I could use an example in everything. I could use a gaming example. You're going into Marvel Rivals. Anybody out there playing Marvel Rivals? I know this makes me sound super nerdy, but you're out there playing Marvel Rivals. Everybody has a power, a strength. Whether that be they have got lots of HP, whether that be they're putting lots of DPS out, whatever it might be, everybody has strengths. There's not that one OP character that comes in, because if it was, everybody would play that character. If there was people that everybody was an expert at or one person was an expert at everything, that one person would be the most in-demand individual in the world. There is not one business owner I'm not even going to use that example because it's a terrible example now. What's a good example of a person that owns a good company now, Laura? What can I use without it going off the wall? Who's a great person that owns a company? Who do we know? We don't know. We'll just say Jimbo, who owns a $12 trillion company over here. I guarantee you is not an expert at everything. I guarantee you he's probably not even an expert at 50% of what people think that he is. He's hired people and put people into place to make sure that his weaknesses do not hinder the team or hinder him. His strengths are driving the company, but his weaknesses are also not other people's weaknesses. His weaknesses are other people's strengths. So he's just there, and you can learn that. So the other benefit is that it creates an opportunity for team collaboration. If you admit to your team that this is your weakness, I admit to my team, like, hey, sometimes I space out at the end of the, it's end of a long week, everything like that. Laura knows, she'll come into me, both of us, our brains are fried. She knows, hey, probably not a good time if I have something just like I know to bring at 3 p.m. on a Friday, because Laura and I, both managers going through everything that we do every day, not going to be something that's going to necessarily be proactive. So going, okay, hey, team collaboration. I know that Laura is like this. Let's push this to Monday. Let's go. Okay, this is a weakness of ours, is that, at the end of a Friday, we're not really wanting to sit there and go and address another problem unless it needs to be, which we know there are those opportunities. But if it can be, wait till Monday and it not hinder anything, let's wait till Monday. But that team collaboration, again, you're able to really form a relationship. It's just going to come back to form a relationship, because if you're honest with people and they know, hey, they're not necessarily the greatest at this, but they might be better than you, they're going to go out and they're going to assist you. I have people that, I have weaknesses on that help me, and they have weaknesses that I help them. I have account managers that don't like confrontation. I'm completely fine with it now. If a client is not responding and not giving us approvals, which some of you clients out there, please give my account manager some approvals. They're trying their best. I reach out to them and I go, hey, look, I was actually going to accidentally say a client's name, but that's just because, it's just my example name. Greg, we'll just use Greg as an example. Hey, Greg, we've handed over 2 articles for you. We haven't seen that you've approved them. We need these approved before we can, move on to the next step. Sometimes the account managers aren't necessarily wanting to be the ones that are really pushing them as hard as I will. They're obviously following up, but sometimes I got to come in and go, Greg, dude, we can't do anything and you're paying us X amount of dollars a month. We can't move on to the next step until you approve this. So I'm one of they utilize me and I utilize them if I need to get a note to a client sometimes. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to go for a break real quick. Give me some questions if you guys have them. I know this one was a little bit longer than it maybe should have been, but I'm trying to keep them short, trying to keep them under 30 minutes. Laura, anything? Do I need to say anything? Add anything? Okay, she's shaking her head. So we'll be right back. What's up, guys? We're back. Sorry we didn't have an exciting cut video for you on that one. Laura was, what were we going to call that, Laura?
I just goofed.
You goofed. Well, it wasn't a goof, though. You haven't done this in a really long time. It's just one of those things. I think on the next one, we're going to have a really cool one. Maybe it'll be a Laura solo. Oh, Laura, you know what one of our cool little videos could be? It could be you doing your fire hula hoop. That would be sick. Laura does fire hula hooping. It's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know how she doesn't set herself on fire. She's awesome. And she DJs. DJ Laura Croft. She's trying to test her mic now.
Hello? I don't know how to get this one to work.
Just speak really loudly, Laura. I bet you my mic can hear you.
Hello? Testing. Is it working? I don't think so.
Well, if it's not working, if you speak loud enough, maybe this one will hear you.
Hello? Okay. We just have a couple questions.
All right. Well, let me say one thing and then we'll get into the questions.
Sure.
All right. This is what I want all of y'all to do after this live. If you're watching this off of a recording, I want you to take 5 minutes, write down 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses that you have in sales or that you have in the job that you're currently doing, that you have in life. If you're trying to, sit there and up your life game, write down 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses. And then I want you to ask yourself, how can I amplify these strengths? Strengths are not something that you can just sit there and rest on your laurels. Like Tim said, if you're over relying on that strength, you need to better yourself. Make that strength a super strength. Make that strength into something, go Super Saiyan mode with that strength and make it an even stronger strength. I wonder how many times I can say strength in one sentence there, Laura. And then also, how can I either improve or compensate for my weaknesses? If you have a strength that can compensate for a weakness, or if you have an area that you can, implement AI or implement some sort of tactic or standard operating procedure to make that weakness not a weakness, identify that and maybe implement it. It could be something super simple. Again, like time, I sit there and I say time looping, my time blocking that I have, that is one of them. The moment you do and you're able to identify those, watch. You will feel more confident and your sales game will just be that much stronger. Your life game, any game that you have, it'll be that much stronger. All right, now I'll open it for Q&A. Just wanted to say that real quick.
One last ditch effort. I'll figure that out for next time, I guess.
Yeah. You've got a lot of technology over there, Laura. I don't know how you can tell the difference between anything.
Let's see. What if I'm selling to multiple industries, but passively through marketing? How can I improve or work on my lead generation and sales closing?
Yeah, that is kind of what we do. Okay, let's break that down again, Laura. That was multiple questions. Let's go to the first one. Reread it.
Improving or working on lead generation and sales closing.
Okay, so if you're improving lead generation, if you're following us along, you need to be out there on LinkedIn. You need to be out there, doing the cold calls, sending those email sequences, being out there at trade events, making sure that all the leads that you're bringing into, if you're using a list building platform or a list building software, making sure that you're going after the strategic accounts, making sure you're going, okay, hey, if I'm going to be putting my time into these, yes, you need to have some fish in your pool, but you really want to be going after your sharks and your whales. The fish are there, don't ignore them, but you really want to go, okay, if I only have a set number of time and a set number of time in a day, whatever it might be, going after the ones that are worth your time and worth your effort. If you're going, hey, these are not necessarily aspects or avenues that I realistically should be taking and they don't have a high chance of closing, maybe put those on the back burner. Don't ever leave those opportunities to just die, but also focus on the ones that are going to be your highest probability. And that will increase your lead gen in and of itself, because I don't consider a lead necessarily a lead until they've come in and talked with me and gone, yes, I'm interested, and raised their hand, because that is a genuine lead. You have clients, you have cold potential clients, all that kind of stuff in your list. But if you're genuinely considering a lead is when they raise their hand, making sure that you're out there on multiple different platforms, calling, email, LinkedIn, all that. What was the second part of the question, Laura?
I feel like you kind of covered most of it.
Oh, okay. Are you sure? Didn't miss anything out?
They just gave us like context at first.
Okay. And then if you don't have that time, real quick pitch. If you don't have that time that you're able to implement that, maybe you're a 2 or 3 person sales team and you're like, look, my marketing, and I have a 1 person marketing team that's not able to, necessarily put out all this that I just listed. Either partner with a marketing agency, partner with us here at MFG Tribe, partner with somebody, that best fits your industry. We're B2B and industrial focused. So making sure, hey, if you're a restaurant out there, and go pair with a restaurant marketer that knows restaurants specifically. Because, it is, Kyle uses it, I forget which the famous person is, buy back your time. If hey, these are the things that I'm good at, again, identifying strength, these are the things that I'm good at, making sure that you're going along these are what I'm good at, and filling those weaknesses, with a marketing team, with a marketing professional. You don't necessarily just have to hire a marketing agency. Tying a marketing agency with a marketing professional is probably one of the most powerful things that you can do, because you have one person that knows within your internal team what you guys are doing, as well as relaying it to the outside marketing agency. So that was a quick little pitch on why we're so awesome. Next question, Laura.
How can I build trust with the client after they identify my weakness up front in a call?
Did they identify that weakness through a blunder of yours? So that's going to be one of the questions that I'm going to, ask. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes when I'm on discovery calls. I had one a few weeks ago with a client, or with a potential client of ours now, where I was going along a wrong avenue. I didn't maybe asked the right question, misunderstood them, but I was going down this avenue of, hey, you're looking for a monthly marketing partner, doing this whole pitch on this whole monthly marketing partner for a good 15 minutes. And then I realized he checked out. I was like, okay, we need to take a step back and we need to go, okay, what happened here? Where did I lose him? Was it something that I did? It was probably that I misinterpreted him or misheard him or was not paying enough attention or asking enough questions. But if they're there and they identify a weakness of yours early on, agree with it or go, hey, okay, sorry. So for example, for me, hey, I must have misunderstood that. Would you mind going back and actually like telling me what you're looking for so that I can readjust, admitting to them and not going, whoa, hold on, you didn't tell me, necessarily. Even if he didn't, he might not have been the one that directly told me. I just went down the wrong avenue of not listening correctly or asking those right questions, taking a few step backs and I going, hey, I screwed up here. Let me take a few steps back and let's readjust. Because if you're honest with them, being honest and not trying to cover that up, because me as somebody, who does interviews, who speaks with, who is a decision maker within the company, if I see somebody blunder, but they identify, hey, I blundered, let me make up for that. In my head, I'm going to go, okay, hey, their business, their company probably does the same thing when they have a blunder. They immediately admit, hey, I made a mistake. We made a mistake. Let's go in and fix this. We're going to fix this. And, for us, if we make a mistake, we try and fix mistakes before the client even, knows that they're there. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm not going to sit here and say that, we are the best marketing team out there, but I'm not going to sit there and say that we don't make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human. If somebody holds you too high of a standard, and they see that weakness and they just don't want to do business with you anymore, were they realistically a fit from the beginning? Were they going to be an easy client for your team whenever you handed them back off? That may have been a red flag. But if you, again, identify, take a couple steps back, admit your fault, and I guarantee you that will build even more sense of trust. And I'm not saying go out there and make purposeful mistakes and then admit to them, but that can build that another layer of trust is just admitting to it. Was that a good answer to that question, Laura? Feel like it was long-winded, but I tend to be a little long-winded sometimes.
What are the steps to overcoming a weakness?
The steps to overcoming a weakness. Well, first, I'll write it down. You have to identify the weakness. So you have to go in and go, hey, this is my weakness. I am bad at follow-up. So identify the weakness. After you're done identifying the weakness, is there an opportunity to learn? If it is an opportunity to learn because you are not necessarily knowledgeable in that specific area, that space, that job description, that task that you're currently doing, is there an opportunity to learn? So if there is an opportunity, we're going crazy here. If there is an opportunity to learn, then learn. Go out there and go, hey, there are so many resources out there now. You have the World Wide Web, the WWW. You got everything at your fingertips. You have AI, you have ChatGPT, you have so many different things at your fingertips that realistically you could go out and become and learn to be a surgeon off of the World Wide Web if you really wanted to. Now, would I trust you to come and do surgery on me? No, but you could. 3 years of sitting there reading, surgery and all the books that they have online, you could learn most of what you needed to be able to be a surgeon. And then step 3 is execute. Or we'll put another subset underneath here, actually. So if you can't learn, if it's one of those things like, hey, it's not necessarily that I am knowledge-based, I don't have enough knowledge on, it's just something that I know I'm not good at. So we'll put it as a dunk. I'm tall, I'm 6'7", I can dunk. A 5'2" person is not going to be able to dunk no matter how much they try, for the most part. You could have some freaky hops and learn to maybe dunk. But realistically, if you're 5'2" and you're going, hey, this is not something that I'm necessarily ever going to be able to do, find another way to do it. Look at Steph Curry. Steph Curry can't dunk, but he shoots threes from half court. I keep using sports references, and I hope I'm not losing people, but he's able to sit there and make up for it. It's making up for one of those weaknesses. You're going, hey, I'm supplementing this weaknesses with one of my strengths. So supplementation would be the next step. I'll just put sup. And then execute. So execute what you've learned and create that area of optimization into a strength, or put that weakness into an area of optimization and then execute it. Those would be my 3 steps.
All right. I feel a common weakness is not being a good listener. Any tips to help with that?
Yes. I have ADHD, the worst ADHD you could probably ever imagine. I'm that typical, you see those memes when someone's saying something, I'm like, finish your sentence because I want to add to it. I had to take a step back and I really had to almost fake it there for a little while. And when I say fake it, really going, okay, hey, look, I need to pay attention to everything that they're saying. I need to sit there and either be able to relay to something that they're saying or really listening by going, okay, even every single word from, the cat is orange, not just cat orange. I'm one of those that picks up the really key points of what people are trying to say. And I try and push them in and go, okay, now I understand you. If you're not listening to, Laura, you know English better than me. What are the words, the descriptive words? They're nouns and verbs are the action, right? Nouns are the descriptive words and verbs are the action. Adjectives. See, there we go. See, I needed you. Adjectives. So if you're not listening to all the adjective, noun, verbs in the sentence, you're not listening. You're not going, okay, hey, I'm able to identify the problem that they're providing with me. You're just listening to the key points. And that's where you're going to hinder yourself. That's where maybe when I brought that example up earlier, maybe that's where I missed. Maybe I was, again, paying attention to too much of the main core points and not the surrounding information that they're giving to you. Because a lot of the time, and this is something that I realized and made me a better listener, is a lot of the times the supplemental information, not the things that they're necessarily, this is my biggest pain point, the supplemental information, if you're able to identify that and solve that problem as well as their main problem, you are going to have a customer for life. Because you're A, proving that you're listening to them, B, you're providing a solution that they might not necessarily be looking for, and C, you're just developing that relationship even further. So do you think I answered that one again, Laura? If I don't answer a question, let me know, because sometimes I go and just keep talking. Perfect. Well, that was a good one. I think. It was a little longer than I thought it would be. But hey. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for those of you guys who stuck around. If you guys are watching this on a recording, put those comments down at the bottom. Put your 3 strengths and your 3 weaknesses. If I see them, or if you want to, talk about them a little bit further, message me on LinkedIn. Follow Kyle on LinkedIn. Follow Kyle on YouTube. Follow MFG Tribe on LinkedIn. Follow us on YouTube as well. Anywhere that you can download podcasts, we're going to be on there. Maybe you're listening to me on one of those platforms right now. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. We will not have a live next week. We are out of town, or the video team is out of town, so Kyle will not be live next week, but we will be live the following week. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a great rest of y'all's week.